Hey, you guys, it's MJ from Alta Love. How are you? My connection isn't that strong. That sounds funny, isn't it? Expressing that because I'm like, my connection is super duper strong. My connection is one with totality of all there is. Except what I'm referring to here now is my internet connection has been like buffering a lot. So I'm not sure you know, by the divine, may this broadcast transmission get through to the people that it's meant to get through to and offer some love and clarity and wisdom for um, this full moon energy that we're in. And remember, we are not here to give our power to astrology or planets or the moon or the cycles necessarily. It's all around us to assist us in our own evolution. So sometimes we might come across astrologers or we might be guided to certain channels to reflect back to us a deeper knowing, a more grounded knowing, um, and hopefully a better feeling self. So it's always my sort of recommend that we align ourselves with people that we feel resonant with, and that in a lot of these spiritual communities, people talk about soul family. Clearly, it has nothing to do with where we are on the planet. And in my awareness as well, people can often say stuff like that because they want you to think that, but it's not true at all. There isn't a resonance. They're not your family, and in fact, oftentimes people are lying to use and abuse, ultimately because of their own fear and shame. But as we're now living in these radical, shifty times, it's the empath and the sensitive that it's like their time to rise and their time to shine and finally actually be supported on this. As the sensitive can vibrate, it has a lit, we can love our shitty past, we can love the darkness, we can um, love our persecutors, love our enemies. Like it's that kind of love where, if we want the good stuff, if we want to love beauty and love radiance and love financial abundance and or just abundance, that feeling, if we want to love, the Christ or love, um, love, then we have to love the totality of that spectrum. So that means we actually have to shine down and love the fear, the hatred, the judgment, the disparity, and love it so that we can look at it, address it, and face it down from within our heart space to know that that's not the truth of our beingness. We are no longer here to be programmed into slavery. We are no longer here to be programmed into divisive tactic. As a one humanity and one planet, we are one. And the way we function is totally connected and abused, that we're like this very sad broken little child of a humanity. And so more and more and more of us are ultimately being called to ground into earth energy and radiate the infinite light of the cosmos, grounding in through the earth, rooting it down into the earth, and shine and grow from that middle point connection and or expanded rooted connection point. So for this Scorpio, and you guys are super duper aware already, but the Scorpio energy is really basically having us bottom out emotionally, possibly physically. Like this might be the ultimate turning point of like surrender or um, decisions that might not be the easiest. They might not be the most obvious, but like deep in our heart, we know that they're right, or we're sniffing out some BS. We're sniffing out where, and of course it could be our own BS. Let's be honest, that's usually what's going on there. And remembering that, as long as we're attracting stuff, that means we're vibrating in the fearless life guide. A couple of you are reading, and hope is a really easy language and a kind of helpful way of of grappling with healing as a collective, because in my life experience, the healing, and yet we live in a society that wants to kind of pretend everything's fine and just stay enslaved and just keep shopping, and as a broad sweeping statement, and yet shopping and partying and socializing, maybe, just awakening around being sold and buying into the illusion, buying into the American dream. Get a good job, make money, buy stuff, be special, be important, and then we're good to go. Be recognized, be important, like that status stuff. So, and there's nothing wrong with the status stuff. However, what is inherently conflicting for more and more and more of humanity is the fact that the rulership and or the chasing or selling out to the dream that's being sold and propagated to the human population, i.e. buy stuff, you're whatever, be like these happy shiny people. It's what's being revealed to us via our own consciousness in this evolutionary leap that we're taking, is the fact that the underbelly of that illusion of fame and fortune and material success, the underbelly of that is like a nightmare. So the underbelly is exploitation, oppression, and not just toward us as a humanity, one another, but our planets, or our planet, yeah, the planet, the Earth herself. So as so far as the story of fearful separation goes, again, remember it's all an illusion. Um, I just totally blanked out there. Oh, and the animals. So it's like the people, the plant, as in the plant that is the life force recycling regenesis energy of this planet, which is ultimately what we as the beings want to align ourselves with. That's the highest form of technology on this planet, because technology isn't something outside of us, it's our own operation system coming alive. And so we're moving, and yet now we're evolving en masse. We're evolving beyond. Now, it's not to say that we don't physically manifest that technology, which is exactly what we have been doing for decades, generations. Well, we've evolved, and now we're now getting to this sort of shift point of mass evolution, mass global shifting, which is why, again, a lot of us have been called to break free from certain situations, people, places, and called to focus on the work that our heart is asking us to do. And it requires courage because it's blind. Like, you're going around blind. Although, from my perspective, people are blind in the system. They just don't know it because they're so worried about buying more, keeping ahead, being important, and all of that kind of stuff. So, in essence, en masse, we've been programmed to deny the self, and in thus denying our connection to love, denying the aspects of life that would bring us love, and focusing on our own disempowered state, pain, suffering, lack, all of that. And oh, what a trip. I remember 2 years ago, there was a similar energy and loads of stuff around being disowned, being abandoned, rejected, gossiped. I just basically published my book, and a whole bunch of my, like, it was like cognitive dissonance, like not knowing how to handle someone being a speaker and author from the yoga teacher, vibrashe. And so that was a really weird, and it's when I started to like own up, which of course I know and successful in that 3D world. What is quite shocking for the empath is realizing that people aren't always happy for your success, that people like you the way they like you in their little box. But the moment that you break free, or the moment you become empowered, or the moment that you're able to stand in your truth, people don't always want anything to do with you. Some of my best friends, it was like 2 years later, they're like, oh, maybe we should meet up and I can have a copy of your book. And I was like, well, you can buy my book. And considering I haven't seen you or spoken to you, I published it, maybe we don't meet up. Maybe I have no desire to hang out with you anymore. And that's just being in one's power, and owning resonance versus dissonance. This feels good, this doesn't feel good. These interactions feel aligned, this doesn't feel aligned. But here's the ownership piece. You have to get into alignment before everyone else aligns with you. So I can't go around blaming these people energy into my life out of need, desperation, and vulnerability. And I'm not beating myself. I'm not blaming me or blaming them, but I am also in a position where I can energetically walk away if someone is lying, if someone's not being honest, and certainly if someone's doing something that's pretty fucking shady, and I'm just supposed to go, okay, that's fine. And finally having the power to go, no, that's not fine. And I don't deserve that. Really, now we can begin to see the manifestation, which some of us will have done this week, of more deservingness, taking no shit from control and domination anymore. That is in so like it needs to be so effing honed right now because it's all smoke and mirrors awakening journey. And it's always my hope, expectation, whatever, to demystify it, simplify it all, stop, because it would save people these weird manipulative journeys in different yoga industries, spiritual communities, if it doesn't res with them, rather than being indoctrinated by said spiritual community or said school. I'm looking for more real people, authentic, juicy flow people who are not heavily mentally programmed by indoctrination or dogma, which again, spiritual or business, it doesn't really matter. It's not you, it's not the truth of you. And I'm just somebody who's increasingly followed that inward flow, and I'm not associated. So the language you hear here is really from my heart. I'm not necessarily regurgitating rhetoric, although that can happen sometimes if I am ingesting something or reading something, but I have the awareness to know the difference. And a lot of times we're so heavily programmed. For some beings, it's not even like on the radar at all, And so all we can do again is hold space, be present, and find the love heart, find the love for all of it. And I know that might sound really effing weird, but if you want to find love for your own shittiness, you have to find love for all the shit out there as well. So we have to find a harmonious belt, which again, it's intense, but at least we know ground, anchor, hold space, ground, anchor, hold space, ground, anchor, hold space, and then we guide it in our kind of clear and higher manifestation path, which for the large majority of us, if not all of us, the all that looks like is that we think we're supposed to look like necessarily. If anything, the vision from the heart is just grounded and simple and pure and beautiful, and there's just like, again, there's no like big scary big brother eye, there's no Shalaman, there's no dark forces. It's just coming back into union, and then the way I see it, I know this is a bit of a gee whiz, but the way I see it is that then the earth continues on her journey, and earth as a planet, darkness and back into the light, it's a perpetual infinity loop cycle. And so that infinity loop is why beings from across the cosmos are like, let's go, like coming to this solar system to have this ride of moving from darkness into light, of having this like this experience in form of going from like into like right, because it's exquisite and beautiful. And how do we get there? How do we get into tapping that sense of it's exquisite, it's beautiful? You have to fucking feel it. Part of the radiance here is the fact that there's a lot of depth and darkness being and then hidden in that. And this is why it's sort of like step away, right? Is that whole like, yeah, everything's fine, that is blocking the darkness. So that's why we get insidious kind of icky low level patterns in that belt of energy, because we can't uproot anything. We don't go deep enough to uproot anything. And because we're not uprooting anything, we never lift off, we never get into those joy and bliss. So that level would look at anything higher or lower as like right, in judgment, in total division. So you guys, I'm wishing you all a really happy full moon. I know that a couple of you have reached out expressing that you're going to be doing some ceremonies today, so that's pretty cool. I too shall be performing a little ceremony for myself. See, I've got like a little mini book this time of energies and intentions and work and project, and there's a couple patterns of just we're done. I see you, I get you, I'm done with that, so I'm not going back. So there's about 2 lifelong patterns that I'm not taking that with me. So that's pretty cool. And then vibrationally, it just feels shifted. It feels kind of released, and I'm super duper aware of the underlying patterns now. So if they ever kind of creep in, I'd be like, I know what that is. La, la, la. Just keep throwing it off, kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's it for today. I hope this was useful to you. I hope that it is helpful, and that you ride out the energies with as much grace and benevolence as possible, and that you are in a state of perpetual forgiveness when it comes to like the discomfort and the pain that moves through you. But remember, it's all part of the totality. And the more we can own the totality, the more we can consciously direct thought and consciously direct energy so that we are really tangibly moving up and higher and feeling better. And it goes like that. So we just become more and more beautiful, eternal, exquisite gorgeousness of life. That is my expectation for us all. Those of you that were working together, I so look forward to continuing the journey and holding you in the space of your highest dream. I love you guys, and I look forward to speaking to you real soon. Peace out.